Greetings, all you Metamaniacs.
We have a very special video today, an interview with the devs around the release of Kuiil and IG-11.
That's right, IG-11 is literally bringing Baby Yoda into the game for us, folks. Super duper exciting, along with Kuiil, of course.
We were granted a roundtable interview with the designers of IG-11 and Kuiil, CG-KO and CG-Mouse, along with the senior community manager, SB Crum, and the senior live designer, CG-Miller.
So close. The live operations senior designer. I'll help you out there, Gami. It's a long one. Joining us at the round table were the Gom and I, and then three other content creators, Mr. H and the other Sean from the Galactic War Report, who have a long history of doing interviews with CG, as well as Sig, who's well known in our community for having a huge hand in SWGOH Events.com, as well as the SWGOH Events Discord server. We've posted the links to the full podcast release of the interview that'll be on the Galactic War podcast, as well as Sig's highlighted, typed out version on the website. You guys should definitely check those out.
The video ahead just pulls out some of the highlights from the actual interview into video form here for your viewing pleasure.
And there's lots of them.
Yes.
We have about 20 minutes of footage from all of these guys chatting, and we're going to just go through, preface them a little bit with the questions that were asked, and then just let it run. Let's hear from Crum to start as he talks about moving SWGOH into the new era of The Mandalorian.
Well, it's definitely like we kind of go through different eras in Galaxy Heroes, right? Where we kind of pick different kind of moments we want to focus on. So obviously we're going into Mandalorian stuff with in concert with Season 2, and that's very exciting for us. So yeah, we expect a lot of new players to come into the game as well. I think Mandalorian has sparked some Star Wars fandom in people that probably don't normally look at Star Wars. I know just anecdotally, a lot of my friends who've never watched Star Wars before have been like, I am into Mandalorian. This is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So absolutely, we're going to see a lot of hopefully new players coming into the game, and there'll be some cool like new icons and stuff in the store and all that fun stuff, right? That the players will get to see and whatnot. You know, we kind of designed these characters to work hand in hand. They can fit on other teams, but I think primarily their strengths are obviously working together, as we saw on the show and stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Kuiil and I worked super closely as he was developing IG-11. I was doing Kuiil. We knew early on that we wanted to have a really strong synergy represented there, very similar like Mission and Zalbar. We didn't want to just like rip that off, but we wanted something that was very reminiscent of that. So
IG-11 is kind of works well with Kuiil. Mandalorian and Grief are bounty hunters, right? Cara Dune is a rebel and a scoundrel. So like there is a lot of disparate parts to that 5-person team. And while we did have in the back of our mind, yes, we want all 5 of these to work together, there is a definite character you could put as the leader that will, kind of do their thing across everyone. It wasn't like that is probably not the meta team. Someone will prove me wrong and reach the top of a ladder with it. Probably not the meta team that these characters belong on, but they all definitely have places.
The first character we're going to talk about is Kuiil, guys, and we're going to talk about him with the developer CG-Mouse in charge of Kuiil, his design, his kit, and whatnot. He does a lot of cool things, guys. Brings a lot of synergy to the Scoundrels, to other light side droids. It's going to bring a lot of utility to maybe some older, lesser used characters like Zalbar, like Mission, like L3, like T3, as he mentions in the interview here. Lots of cool synergy, lots of healing, lots of new mechanics that we're not used to seeing on the light side as well. So without further ado,
We'll kick things off here with talking about 2 new characters, IG-11 and Kuiil. I don't know, Mouse, do you want to give us just like a super brief overview of the character?
absolutely. So Kuiil is a Ugnaught. He is light side. He is a scoundrel. The intention with Kuiil is to kind of help give a lift to scoundrels and droids, in particular light side droids. He's also the first light side character to have the shock debuff. Kuiil was kind of a unique challenge because unlike a lot of other characters that have been represented in the game, he doesn't do a lot of attacking. He doesn't do a lot of stuff. But what he does really well is support. He's there for Mando, he's there for Cara Dune, He does a lot of things to help those people through the troubles and the trials and tribulations they're going through. So tried to capture that really well by giving him I Have Spoken, which allows him to give out unique buff for scoundrels and light side droids. And I also wanted to try to capture in episode 1, he shocks the blurgs, which I thought was a really, really cool, both mechanical possibility and just how it looked aesthetically. So I tried to work that into the kit and give kind of like a small mini puzzle with how you can spread that shock to other enemies. I feel like he is represented pretty well. It definitely early on, there was a lot of, should he be a non-combatant? Should he not? But we felt we were able to like get enough offense in there to sort of warrant him not being non-combatant. Initially, he did actually work with all droids. Part of what came down to the light side restriction is when he was paired with Grievous, there were a lot of problems from a balance perspective. And the more we kind of talked about it and ideated on it internally, it made more sense thematically and mechanically for him to do the light side droid specifically.
Probably where it's going to eventually land is somewhere between a mix between a droid and a scoundrel team.
Yeah.
That's probably the ideal setup right now, where you do have a couple droids, but the scoundrels are probably going to need to fill out the rest of that roster, I think.
Yeah, so my initial pitch was Kuiil riding the blurg, actually on screen. And Art had a lot of concerns about that with additional rigging and some other complications with just general character readability, visibility.
Oh, you mean making a whole nother creature for him to sit on was going to be hard for Art? Weird.
Yeah, it was weird. I was really surprised. So after we had kind of had that discussion, I was like, well, can we make the relic a blurg? And they're like, yeah, I think that would work. So that's kind of where we ended up with that. Now, I'm actually really excited we were able to get that in. I think it looks great. On his unique, he has the ability to give protection, recover protection when enemies inflicted with shock for him in IG-11. So that helps give them a little bit of sustain when they're kind of together. Oh, sorry, Kuiil and droid allies. Then there's other benefits for IG-11 if Kuiil is present as well. L3 absolutely has a very strong place with Kuiil. Some other good characters that worked really well there were like T3. T3 did some really fun things. Having a clear lead did a lot of really cool things. IG-88 actually did a lot of really neat things in the leader slot. All of those things worked really well together. So like you're saying, dusting off some of the older scoundrels. Mission Zalbar also were super fun, and I'm really excited to see what you guys do with that.
Okay, now on to IG-11. This is a super exciting character. Not only does he have the child who has its own unique ability, but IG-11 has incredible base stats. Other than the Galactic Legends, he has one of the highest health pools in the whole game. I was able to get the character up to 155,000 max health with my best mod sets. And also, that was with a speed arrow, and he was running at 317 speed. This is a crazy fast unit. He's taunting, but he's got the healer tag. You can really consider him the fastest healer in the game and the fastest honorary tank in the game. I do think that this character has the possibility to be incredibly epic for the game. Let's listen to what CG Kuiil, who is the designer for this unit, and CG Miller have to say about IG-11 and the child.
We were going over what what the high level of IG-11 should be, and it was that assassin droid. It had self-destruct. It had it was definitely that that killer robot that we'd all seen. CG Top Hat arrived at the meeting late, saw what we were doing, and is like, "Why is the child not on him?" And we're all like, no. We're like, he's gonna self-destruct. You can't have the child on something that's gonna self-destruct. That's crazy. And then CG Top Hat's like, just take self-destruct off, and then we can have the child on him. And then he turned that room around so fast. Like, we went from vehement, adamant, you cannot have the child on this thing, to okay, we could have the child kind of playing around and laughing, and in less than 2 minutes. It was amazing.
So with IG-11, I really wanted to channel the vibe you get from him in the show. Lots of feverish shooting, lots of protecting of the child, lots of just great the great balance between like assassin droid meets nurse droid. So that's kind of what I channeled into the kit. He's pretty flexible in like what role you want to put him in. Deals a lot of damage, able to heal the team, taunts a bunch, counters a lot, or responds to countering a lot. So it's a lot of really interesting ways that you could even mod him.
Yeah, you were mentioning earlier that there's like depending on kind of what role you want him to play on a team, there's probably a couple different ways you could mod him. He's got like his kit does so many different things. It depends on what part of the kit you really want to focus on as part of your squad, right? Like, do you need a strong support character? Do you need more of a tank? Like any of those roles, he can kind of fill pretty well depending on how you mod him, which is I think is really cool.
Yeah, his heal and unique both feed off of his max health, so you want max health for him. The dot redirection on his unique feeds into protection. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of play with him, which is really cool. Yeah, to Miller's point, like when we started talking about the child being on the model, like all the artists' eyes kind of like lit up, like, oh, we can play with the child, like this is so cool, and we can like they were really excited about IG-11 and the like kind of the hallmark movement that you see in the show of everything's moving around and he's rotating around and really wanting to capture that. So I think everyone who worked on this character was equally excited to be working on this character.
Yeah, I think you could always like see, I think Kuiil was mentioning this too, like when the artist team gets really excited about this stuff, because like the number of like weird stuff that kept coming out of the pipeline, and whenever I look into the channel, it'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, we want to do this crazy animation we've never done before, where he actually attacks every character out there and his arms actually go towards the right character. Oh, but what if there's only like 2 left? He shouldn't do that like 10 times. He should only do like 2 kind of cool shots, right? And so all the animations have been created specially for this character, and I know it was like pretty ambitious for the team to try and put that together, but like that, and of course the child as well, just seeing the animations of like him popping out and waving and saying hi and all that kind of stuff, like it's clear that some artists had way too much fun making that character. So really stoked to see how the players like this, because it's going to be a sweet character, not only just for the kit but from the animations.
I forced Kuiil to make him a healer. That's my fault.
Okay, CG Miller's fault. You heard it here first.
He did. We do not have enough healers in our game.
Shocking considering how much healing there is in the game.
Shocking for how much healing there is in the game.
Yeah, really.
So it's kind of my my crusade now that anybody who heals in any sort of like significant fashion in their kit should be a healer.
So why isn't Kuiil a healer then?
Because CG Mouse just doesn't do anything I say.
All right.
Yeah, one of my the fun things I was playing with was IG-11 and Kuiil with R2 and BB-8. So BB-8 would get attacked and would counter. IG-11 would assist off of that counter attack. BB-8 would then call R2 to assist, and IG-11 would also assist off of R2. So it's just like a chain reaction of just a bunch of bullets flying in the air.
The obvious choice, of course, is a Lobot lead with
Right.
the bonus to droid speed.
That's like the cuteness brigade.
Right.
The child and R2 and BB-8 all in one team.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be like as splashy as like maybe some of the Galactic Legends or something, like where you see something in this kit and go like, wow, holy crap, that's nuts. But when you start, as you said, kind of getting into the kit more and you start looking at it and you're like, whoa, in battle, this guy does some work. Like it is not a character I think you're going to see get put to the wayside. But also we have to make sure there's utility for these characters too and places to use this stuff. So things like GAC, I imagine he's going to be super popular in, just because he's going to bolster between him and Kuiil together, I think is going to make another solid team for some of the multi-squad events that we have going on. So territory wars, GAC, that kind of stuff.
Territory battles.
Territory battles, also solid in territory battles. So
We've heard all about the characters and their kits. Now let's hear how we're going to get these characters. How are they going to be released into the game?
Yes, when we first heard about them being released through Galactic Challenges, I have to say I had a little freak out. I was very, very worried that they were going to be behind a relic wall, but I'm happy to say that's not the case at all. They're going to be super accessible to everyone to at least unlock. Let's hear from Crumb about all of that.
I'm happy to go into how the characters are being released a little bit here. I know that's probably a huge question for players, and they want to know more about how they get these hands on these cool characters. So as you mentioned there, Galactic Challenges is the initial release for them. They'll get probably about like 30, 40 shards, depending on how high the roster is. It's only the first couple tiers of it. And this is not the feats, I should say, for Galactic Challenges. This is just in the base rewards. Galactic Challenges is a very cool, flexible tool for us to do kind of all sorts of stuff with we talked previously about all the tech we've built over the last couple months here to try and enable us to do more stuff with this. And knowing how flexible Galactic Challenges was, we thought, well, this is probably a good spot to try these two characters in and see how they do. And so we may release characters like this in the future. We may not. We're going to see how it goes. So in general, we wanted to make sure this is pretty accessible for this initial run. Right now, the initial thing, as you said, the first two events, both those events will be on Navarro as well. It's kind of a cool custom Galactic Challenge for each of them, where the art team again knocked it out of the park with some really cool shots from you really feel like you're in Navarro, like the streets and all that. It looks really solid. And have some sort of theming around that. And so, as I said, first two will be for Kuiil and then IG-11 later in this month. So we'll be earning shards throughout this whole month for these characters. In some ways, I think it's way better, and I think it's a much easier way to get into an event than have to have this bespoke marquee. You get other rewards from it. There's value to going into these things. So we can make kind of like a couple sort of bespoke kind of interesting environments for this and give some cool modifiers. And so that may be something that players really enjoy, and then said maybe we'll do that in the future. But this is not going to replace our release cadence for other kind of characters. Heroes Journey characters will still come. We'll still have marquees. We'll still have this other kind of stuff too. Yeah, so we've been talking about it this week about what does the actual release look like at post the Galactic Challenges, and I don't think we have any. I can't say exactly what's going to happen to them, but it'll follow kind of a similar thing. It'll probably move to a couple different areas but probably on an accelerated schedule as well. So it's going to come to, I don't know, something like Chromium packs or something like that, and then probably go to be an additive drop or no drop or something like that. So it will be available for players to unlock, said in the future as well. But I don't think I could share it's going to definitely, here's the cadence, here are the dates and that kind of stuff right now.
So accelerated schedule, there's a good reason for that, right?
Could be. No, we definitely just do stuff for the sake of it, just like making 5 characters of a faction and then leaving it.
What's going on? Where's this going?
So I'll give you the PR answer first, which is at this time we don't have anything additional to announce around the Mandalorian characters at this moment. But I mean, if you've seen the show and you know how the arc of the show goes, and you probably have a pretty good idea where this is going without me telling you. So yeah, to your question around how these characters are going to be released in Galactic Challenges, they'll be available in the first 3 tiers for the most part. You get all your shards from that. There'll be 2 events for each of them, so 2 Kuiil events, then 2 IG-11 events. You should be able to unlock the character after going through both those events. Obviously, these are kind of special events on Navarro itself. There's some really cool artwork around them, creating really capturing the whole scene where they're in the sort of alleyways or main street even, and I think the art team absolutely nailed it with the sort of look and feel of those events. I think you've probably seen a little bit of that from the animation I showed where it's IG-11 and Kuiil and Mandalorian in the street fighting it out and whatnot. So I think that the team did a really great job of capturing some of those really cool moments there.
And it's definitely showing our nerddom. We should explain that Navarro is the planet that is seen in Mandalorian the most.
Oh, come on. People know that.
It is where the client is. It is where the, sort of underground Mandalorian tribe is. And that is the name of the planet. It has a name. It's called Navarro. They all have names, and we all know them.
Navarro, Dave, right?
They show that on screen, don't they?
They don't know. Only Rogue One showed planet names on screen.
We knew we wanted to expand Galactic Challenges from the start. It was intended to grow from the very beginning, from what we initially released. That being said, of course, we had some ideas of what we wanted, where we wanted it to go, but a ton of it has been based on player feedback of hey, the way that the feats were structured in terms of are you this tall to ride for G12 or whatever? That players were really not stoked on that, because it's well, if I can beat this and I can show that I use my skills to overcome a challenge, shouldn't I get the rewards for that? And that's why we changed a lot of that stuff, is based on player feedback. So it's going to continue to evolve based on how the players feel about it and what the sort of frustrations are and what the people like about it. But in general, we knew there was going to be some kind of major changes we had to it, and there's still more changes coming to it, from now into the future, right? There's got to be a lot of stuff that's going to happen to keep growing that feature, and we've got a lot of stuff planned already for that. But I will say though for sure that the team has been like very, very interested in feedback across the board on how players are liking individual events. Are the feats like this correct? Did this feel good for a player? Did this not feel good? Was there actually a puzzle here that some players liked, or was this just too easy? And so we've, I know CG Coffee has been working very closely with folks to try and make sure the events that are going forward listen to all the feedback from the players very closely. We have some stuff planned before the end of this year, and there will be some announcements, I think, in some point in the not so distant future around that stuff. But a lot of that stuff is still up in the air. Like we are actively developing that whole thing. So if I start talking about what changes might happen, I could be very wrong. Ultimately, we're still working on them. There's some stuff coming in the next couple months here. Hopefully, we can share more in the future on that.
I had some questions for CG about what it was like to work with Lucasfilm, and if developing Baby Yoda, the child, was any different than developing other characters in the game. If they had to treat him with a little more respect or a little more, caution, just because he's so precious.
Everything we do is a precious commodity with Lucasfilm. We have to be respectful of everything we're putting in the game, whether it's IG-11 or Kuiil or the child. Everything we do has to be, we have to treat with the same level of respect, and just to kind of, show that we appreciate the brand, we know the brand, and we don't want to make anyone upset that we're not doing the brand justice. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us have a lot of respect for Star Wars as a property, but just as a story. Like, we're all really invested in making this the coolest thing we can do. Like, we all want to be good shepherds of this really awesome story that's being told for now decades and decades. So the last thing we want to do for the fans or for our partners is to feel like that we're not taking this seriously in a way, but also we're talking about space wizards and lasers. So there's like a healthy balance of we take this seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously around this, right? So we need to be very respectful of what's come in the past and what their plans are in the future. And so there's a lot of hoops we have to jump through, but it gives us a lot of exciting opportunities.
Next, guys, I had a very important question about by far the most important character in the entire Mandalorian series. And here we go. I got a question. When do we get our own playable Bill Burr game?
I saw that question. That one I can confirm right now. We don't have any plans to bring Bill Burr into the game. He was an awesome character, and I really wish we could. That little gun that pops up would have been really cool to see in game. But unfortunately, we don't have any plans at this time for that guy.
That was pretty cool. Hey, we just did our first Dev interview. What did you think of that?
I thought it was pretty awesome. They didn't really... they answered all of our questions with actual answers. I thought that was pretty cool. It was interesting doing the round table. So thank you to Sig and Galactic War Report. That went really smooth for the most part. I was really pleased with how it went. So thank you to all the creators, and also to CG Miller, CG Chrome, Kale, and Mouse.
That's it for the interview. Thank you for joining us. If you would like to see more of Good Old Maurice and I, join us on Thursday nights at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when we stream the Galaxy's Edge Operation Metaverse's live stream and nerd out hardcore on the game that we love, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. You can also find us on Discord at www.discord.io/Operation Metaverse. You can support us as patrons at Patreon, patreon.com/Operation Metaverse. And find out a bunch of stuff about us on operationmetaverse.com. That's about it. We'll see you on the holotables. May the Force be with you. What? Is that your new sign off?
How about that? How about that?
Oh.